Okay, so we're going to talk about sales training. So to begin with, things that you need to think about in sales training. Number one, who needs to be trained? So really, the two options are either brand new salespeople or salespeople that have been with your organization who are in different stages of their career. Another aspect you have to address is what's the emphasis of the sales training. So you can see here it can be product, company, or customer knowledge, also selling skills, like we do role plays. Also, who's responsible for conducting the sales training? You also need to think about where's the training going to occur? How do you know if the training was a success? What are measures you're going to use? So, in an organization, who is responsible depends, is really the answer. So, it could be sales operations, it could be learning and development, so an HR function, could be marketing. And so, if it's marketing, that might be more the product company knowledge, could be sales. Other issues you need to think about: how am I going to structure this training? On the job, formal, web based, instructor based. So, how do you think you determine these things? For me, I would say it depends on what the function is in sales, what their primary responsibilities are, and what your objectives are of the sales training. And also how new or experienced they are in your business or field. So, general objectives would be one, I want to maybe increase productivity. So, if I want to increase productivity, maybe I'm training someone on time management skills. If I'm improving morale, then maybe I'm training on engagement or opportunities. If I'm lowering turnover, that means there's probably some kind of issue that I don't feel my salespeople are fully knowledgeable about that is preventing them from achieving their maximum commission goals, something that's setting them back that would make them, you know, want to leave. And improving customer relations. So that might be product knowledge, that might be customer service related, and then selling skills. A lot of times that they're deficient in some area of the sales process. So some obstacles that can be experienced are if top management doesn't buy in, then it's really hard to have good sales training. Why? Because top management really drives the organization. If the direct sales managers aren't buying in, or the salespeople aren't, training's not going to be effective. If a direct manager and or a salesperson is not buying in, then they may do the training, but they're going to disregard pretty much everything. Also, a lack of understanding. So it needs to be very clear what the training's purpose is and how it helps them in what their everyday tasks are. So, the steps in really creating a training process or training is one, look at the needs. So things we've talked about before, job analysis, job description, looking at the Salesforce and marketing, managers, evaluation of previous training programs, how effective they were, looking at what customers are saying. Then you need to determine what the objectives are, develop a program and implement it, and then evaluate and review, and then revise if needed. So these are different topics that might be for sales training. And then I'm going to kind of skip through this. You can read this. Specialized training topics could be any of these things, price negotiations, maybe if they're attending trade shows, how to have an effective booth at a trade show. Might be something related to nonverbal communication, like how do I read body language? It might be behavioral communication styles, etc. So these are different options for sales training. And then for classroom training, kind of advantages and disadvantages. Just-in-time training. So I'm skipping through a lot of this very quick that you can just read on your own. So I really like this. And I guarantee there's going to be a question on your exam about this. But I got this from a Gartner white paper. And I think it's really interesting because, like, practice by doing, which would be like role playing, is the second to best method. And then actually teaching fellow students. So, like, if you are coaching other students or you are giving feedback to other students to help them grow, then you have mastered a subject enough or whatever enough to feel like you're knowledgeable enough to actually give feedback. So I think that's really important. Other things to consider, this is also from Gartner, how long the sessions are, like how many breaks are you going to get, incorporating humor, any mnemonics, testing. So testing is important because if I just throw a bunch of information at you or at someone in training and I never like assess have they actually retained that information, then how do I know that they've actually learned what I wanted them to learn or accomplish through training? And also the use of like graphics, so pictures or videos. So you can read this and this. So sales training cost. I pulled this from this source, and so I'm not going to go through each of these, but this link has a ton of different options with cost. I pulled a few that you'll see. So how they evaluate is based on these 5 criteria. So location, length, focus, price, and audience. So quickly, I'm not going to even talk about these. These are some different options. This is from that white paper, other recommended readings from Gartner about sales training. And then how am I going to measure the benefits? Well, some of the broad benefits are, and these kind of go with what were the issues you were trying to correct: better morale, lower turnover, higher customer satisfaction, management actually committing to improvement, and then you always have to, well, you don't have to, but if you want to know if something was effective, you need to measure changes in skills, reactions, etc. If I'm going to measure these things, I need a baseline. So I need to measure where did they start versus where are they now. One way you could do that is a pre-test and post-test. You could also do an initial role play and then a role play at the end to try to evaluate how has training helped or not. Also look at changes in performance, changes in customer satisfaction, changes in turnover, etc.